Do you know that there is a book in the Bible, one whole book, about prostitution? We've just started about prostitution. So we just started to read this book. Some parts of this book. I encourage you to take this book at home if you have a little time to read the whole book. This is the book of the prophet Hosea, H-O-S-E-E-A, Hosea, however we can pronounce this. So the story of Hosea is that he was told by God to marry a woman who was prostitute. And his marriage became a comparison in the Bible of faithfulness, God's faithfulness, and God's people's unfaithfulness. So we can see through his life, through the life of Hosea, and it looks that it's the real story of a man who was told by God to marry a woman who was unfaithful, who bore children, who gave birth to children for Hosea who were not his children. So Hosea had children, but they were not biological children, but from some unfaithfulness. You know, so what we see in the story, that God is like this man who was faithful to a woman who was prostitute. We just read here such words. There she will respond to me as she did when she was young, as she did when she came out of the land of Egypt. And do you remember Egypt? We know Egypt from the story that happened a few centuries before this story, when God's people was freed up from Egypt, from slavery. They were slaves in Egypt, but God saved their lives. So, like in the story of God's people who came out from Egypt, we see this woman also who is unfaithful. So, once again, God's people was saved by God when they were in Egypt. They were freed up. They became free people, but after they forgot, they started to be unfaithful again. And this is the story shown in this book of Hosea, that Hosea is faithful to his wife, but he experiences unfaithfulness of his wife. This is our story. This is our story of our relationship with God. When God is faithful to his promises, but we betray God, we are like this prostitute in our faith.